Good day. Today we will compare readline and readlines together. As you can see on the screen, we can test the readline and readlines in console. So please open your R Studio and test it together. So if you want to put a single line in console, you should use the readline function. So different from scan function in console, if you use the readline in console, the line is the one string. So the double quote starts front part and close at the end of one line. Alright, so please compare between readline and scan first together. Okay, so in a previous video, we test the scan function with a parameter what, right? So in this case, you can put your first name in English and the last name. So if to enter per each line, the two words can be distinguished, right? So if you test the single string for your English name, you can do it like that. Okay, you can copy a new data into the predefined y variable together. All right, so in this case, and then okay, that's it. And then you can test it. Even though you put your English full name in a line, but in case of the scan, separates about two words based on the space, right? But if you use the readline function, like me, all right. Sorry. So in this case, you can press the up arrow in keyboard for omit the typing indirect, and you can find the latest comment as I talk to you using up arrow in keyboard, right? So and then you can put it. All right. So in this case, you can find the your English name again. Sorry, we can do it more. All right. So you can follow me. All right. Okay, sorry. In this case, you can put it and then you can check your full English name. All right. So what is the difference between scan and readline? So in this case, if you put your string, such as your English name, you should use the what additional parameter in scan function. But in case of readline function, based on the meaning of the readline function, if we use the readline function, we can read a line, right? So even though we put the space between your first name and second, first name and second name, but read functions was programmed by a programmer for recognizing a line. All right, so we can get a result on the screen for a single line, our full name, right? So that is the difference. And how about this? Yeah, that is the error, right? So even though we put this one, but when you check the variable of y2, nothing, the non-variable here. So that is the grammar. So I want to show the confusion for using many kind of functions sometimes, but it doesn't matter because the grammars, just grammar. So if you forgot a little part of the each grammar, you can find Google or RStudio, the help the explanation like that. So for example, if you put the read line console, so you can read the explanation about the read line. So read line reads a line. Okay, that is the keyword. Read line reads a line from the terminal. So from the terminal means from the keyword, I mean, right? So if you want to read more explanation about this function, you can press F1 as I talked to you in the first week. Okay, so yeah, we can try. So if you press F1, you can get the more information downright. Okay, so that is help, right? So read line. Read line is for reading a line from the terminal, from the keyboard. Okay, so for usage, we put the read line function, and then we also use the argument in read line function too. But normally we just to use the read line for putting a line after enter. All right, so that's easy for you. Okay, and then you will we will compare read line and read lines together soon. So read lines is for reading text lines, not single lines. So more or two lines from the connection, including files. So it is different from the read line and read lines. In case of read line, we cannot read the enough data from the file. Read line is for only reading the data from the terminal, such as keyboard. Okay, that is different. All right, and then if you want to use the prompt to string, it can be truncated to a maximum allowed length, normally 256 characters. So this can only be used in a interactive session, right? So maybe later or after midterm we can use and we can test it together too. All right. Okay. Okay, so you should know what is difference between scan and read line, the data from the terminal. That is the little different grammar, right? Okay, how about read lines? As I talked to you, if you want to read the many lines from the file, you should use the read lines. Okay, read lines. For first, you should make inputs on the line.txt file like that. So this file has the lines mixed by integer and English word. The last line is just string only. So anyway, input on the line.txt file has 4 lines, all right? So if you read this txt file with read line function with this grammar, so this df3 variable contains the 4 lines already. So after put the variable name without print function in console, we can check 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So what is the /t? /t is the special character about the tab. So please compare console comment result and the txt file. So when you look at the txt file, after first words, we put the tab. Tab is the closed with the number 1 in your keyboard. Look at your keyboard right now. And then if you put the tab after specific space, we can put the second word, right? So that is equal to this tab space. So you can also this line, second line, and third line, right? All right, so we can test it together. Please open your txt file and then make the input on the line txt file together. All right, after first word, you should put the tab, not space. I mean, not space. It is too small, but I mean the tab. You should put the tab and then happy and another integer and another word, another integer and another word, and our university name. And then please be careful about this part. You should save this file, the working directory. Where is the working directory? Is it your working directory? No. How can you know the working directory? As I talked to you in a previous video, you should use the getWD function. All right. So after typing getWD in console quickly, we can flexibly get your working directory. Working directory is different from each student and me. All right. So you should get your own you should get your own working directory using getWD function, and then you should paste and enter, and then you can put the text input line. All right, so you can check it, untie it into the input on the line.txt. All right, so after that we can make our own variable name. I think df is abbreviation, descriptor of a file. So that is the common variable name for opening specific file, but it doesn't matter to make the variable name. So we better make the temp variable, and then assignment operator, and read lines. That is very important. Different from the readline function. Readlines has s at the end of the readlines function, and then the L is the capital for lines, right? So please read readlines functions. Readlines can have enough arguments, parameters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't need to know each parameters clearly at this point. In case of the parameter usage, based on your interest problem, you can flexibly find the usage on top of your capability. So that is the memory of, that is not a memory of part. I mean, you should speed up to find your proper or the wanted part of the each function's grammar or reserved word. So anyway, read lines is for reading some or all text lines from a connection. What is the connection? Connection covers a file, right? So sometimes we express connection for file, okay? So you can press F1. So readLines function is for reading text lines That is the key point from a connection. All right. So if you want to use, you can use it, right? And then the first parameter is very important and the common part. So CON is the abbreviation for a connection object. So that can be a file in case of us. So connection or character string. All right. And then if you want to control integer or the maximum number of lines to read, we can use the n, similar to scan function, right? So if you put the negative value in the second place of the readLines function, negative values indicate that one should read up to the end of inputs on the connection. All right. So you should refer each parameter usage at this time. How about OK? The OK is logical value such as true. We talked about the logical data type in the previous video, right? So is it okay to reach the end of connection before and is larger than 0 lines are read? If not, an error will be generated. So sometimes if you control big data or file, we consider the number of the lines, and the RStudio or R interpreter reads all lines at the end of the end line. So we should control about that with the third parameter, right? And how about one? One is also logical value. So warning is occurred if a text file is missing, or a final end of line, that is the end of line, EOL, or if there are embedded nulls in the file. Okay, so sometimes for checking the unexpected errors, we can use the third or fourth parameters for readLines function. How about encoding? So encoding can be used for covering many kinds of operating system and RStudio versions. So for covering all cases in a whole, sometimes we use the encoding. But you should know the default encoding in R is unknown. So that means most unexpected cases can be covered in R, so don't worry about it. And how about skip null? That is also a logical value. So sometimes we can control is it skipped or not, like that. So most examples used only the first and second parameter for readLines function, so don't worry about it. So in our case, we can read lines. Okay, in this case, I put the capital L, and then if I find the proper functions like that, in this case, at this time, I put enter key in keyboard instead of typing at the end of readLines and special characters. To save our time, you can find your proper function or reserved word in our interpreter, and then if you find on the screen, you can just enter to use the reserved word. All right, so you can put your txt file, file name, readline.txt maybe, and then there is the maybe incomplete file line found info _line.txt. That is just a warning message, right? Not error. but we can delete this warning message together. Before that, we will test. Is there a data in temp variable or not? Okay, there is the data already in temp variable. But if we want to delete serve the warning message together, even though it is not error message, we can do it based on the warning message. Incomplete final line, right? What's that? Incomplete final line found on txt file. So in this case, you can you can press the enter, and then you can move your cursor after ending line. So save, and then read again with the up arrow quickly. Right, wait for a moment. Then close again. Then inputs on the line. Wait for a moment. I can't find it. Right, wait for a moment. Txt file again. We can find it together too in computer directory. Okay, here we go, right? Then okay, and then save and close. Right, wait for a moment. Incomplete final line on readLines. Sometimes our studio cannot control by ourselves, but I think where each line, this one, and this one, and close, and then open it. Where is the cursor? Default cursor is twinkling at the end, the starting point of the file, even though I put moved to the ending place of this line, but it cannot be controlled sometimes, right? So in this case, I think we can close our studio and computer and then try again. All right. Most exercises can be solved using this solution. We moved the cursor in the next line of after our old data. So okay, that is the warning message, so don't worry about it. And maybe in other computer, maybe sometimes when we moved the cursor, this point, the warning message normally was deleted. So anyway, we try again next time, and then you can check it. The temp variable is covering our own data, so it doesn't matter about it. But please look at this. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So we did not intend the empty lines in input line txt file, but there is the empty lines here. Even though we did not. So in this case, we can move to the last line by mouse and then delete the empty lines and then try again. Okay. And okay, that's it. All right, so that is the easy part, but sometimes we can try to understand as a computer, I mean RStudio aspect. When you decode the result in terminal or console, we should think I'm a computer now. So as aspects of the computer, RStudio, we should try to understand, oh, what's that? So we should delete. And then as a programmer, we can open our code or txt file, and then we can compare and then delete the unneeded part like that. All right, so we can check the temp variable again together. Okay, you don't need to type. Then you can use the up arrow and then find it. There is no empty lines here. All right, good. So we solved the problem, and then we can move it together to the another part. All right. Okay, next function is head. What is head? So when you imagine the meaning of the head in English, that is the main part. I mean the several main points among big data. Yeah, right. So if you put the variable name as your first parameter and comma, and when you put the integer value based on the result, you can guess what is the function of the head. Yeah. So in the data of this variable, we can select only 2 lines with the head function, so we can test it. If we modify the second parameter from 2 to another number, we can also select the use the number of lines only, so you can test it. So we can write our new functions in our new Word file together. So go to the top part of the file, and then we can add new functions here, right? So we use the scan function together, all right? And we can also compare between scan and read line, right? Okay, so what's that? We can read data from console or file, right? In case of readline, normally we can read data from file, all right? Okay, and in case of readlines, we will cover the difference between readline and readlines in the next video, so don't worry. In this case, look at this, the readlines, right? And then we can also should know the capital L, right? So it's different from readline and readlines. So I will consider the problems in midterm and final test for usage the readline and readlines. So please exercise the difference in console by yourself repeatedly. All right. So in this case, read data. Okay, that is the read all line. All right. Read lines from file, or okay, normally file, but we can extend it in the next video again. All right. Okay, so we also use the head function. So head function, and we will test also tail function. That is the opposite relation, right? So head function, we can select selection several lines only based on the second parameter, right? As I talked to you, this one. Selection or several lines, all right. Selection, several lines only based on second parameter among, okay, a whole from, all right, sorry, from data set, all right. How about this? Okay, selection several lines only based on a second parameter. Right, selection only from the front part on your data, on the data, all right? Okay, how about this? The tail is the similar function with the head, but only different. Okay, you can imagine selection several lines only from the top part, bottom part, based on the second parameter on your own data. All right, that is the difference. So we can use sometimes for sampling from the big data, right? So you should repeat the usage scan, read the line, the head and tail function all by yourself. So we can test it together. Okay, head. So please read the head function. The head function returns the first or last part of a vector, metric, table, data frame, or function. We will cover the data type in R later, so don't worry about it, such as the vector, what is vector, metric, table, data frame. Since head and tail are generic functions, they may also have been extended to other classes. So press number F1. Okay, head function returns the first or last part of a vector, metric, table, data frame, or function. So to use it, the head function can have a variable name, and for the second parameter, we can control the number of for reading, and then we can also control other parts using the third or other parameters. And as you can see on the screen, for the data type, per each data type, a little different grammars should be used sometimes. So we will cover it later soon. So don't worry about it. So X is not object. What is the object? Object can be a variable. All right. So sometimes instead of a variable, the R Studio express the information using the another word. So you should know what is the similar word between them. Okay, so variable can be a object, and n is the single integer. So if positive or zero, size for the result objecting number of elements for a vector, including list, rows for a metric or data frame, or lines for a function. If negative or but the n lasts the numbers of the elements of X. All right. So you should know how can we control for reading the data subsets using the head function. And if we use the add row numbers nums for the head function as your third parameter, it can be used for controlling row names and creating the additional information for controlling the metrics or data frame. So we will use it later. So yeah, that's it. So if you want to exercise using the default examples for each function in RStudio, you can refer the bottom part of the example, all right? So you can do it all by yourself because of the limited time of our each lecture, all right? So this figure shows the from keyword, okay? That is the left side is the keyword. From keyword, we can put the wanted line and then read the line can read it. But in case of the read lines, normally we can put the many lines in the file and then we can read the file using the read lines function, and then we can check the all data, but sometimes we can select a few data using head function as I talk to you. Okay, that's it. In this video we talk about the comparison between scan and readline, and we also talk about the readline and readlines. So you should repeat the unclear part about yourself personally, and then you can put your old traces, both the RStudio portfolio Word file and handwriting notes. So in case of handwriting notes, it is free for writing format, but I recommend you can write the 5 categorize of function, data, package, variable from the backwards of your handwriting notes, and from the front part you can write your additional the computational thinking process about each page. So it is free, so don't worry about the standard format like that. But I recommend you fill your Word file as well as the handwriting note. So from the offline the discussion and lectures, I will also give some time for writing in your note also. All right, so please prepare your own note and then write to your unclear part and memorize that part sometimes. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening. See you next video. Bye bye.